Yes. So in this session, we are going to discuss detailedly about the hypothesis testing. Okay, hypothesis testing is very important. In almost all the machine learning algorithm, we use hypothesis only. So what is mean by hypothesis? Hypothesis means it is a methodology which is mainly used to prove or disprove the statement. That's why we go for hypothesis. Any machine learning algorithm, we use hypothesis only. When we go for hypothesis, we need to know how to define hypothesis, how to define the alternative hypothesis, how to apply the statistical test, choosing the level of significance, and calculating the test value, and finally we can draw the conclusion. So what is mean by hypothesis? Hypothesis means it is a methodology which is mainly used to prove or disprove the statement with the help of statistical analysis. We go for hypothesis. So hypothesis is a part of statistics only. As we discussed in the last module, which you know about that, statistics means it is a mathematical analysis of data. Is called statistics. Statistics means it is a mathematical analysis of data is called statistics. The statistics is broadly classified into two types. One is descriptive statistics, another is inferential statistics. There are two types. One is descriptive, another is inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics means it is a summarization of data. So when we go for descriptive statistics, it is a summarization of data is called descriptive statistics, where we can compute mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, and all. So that is descriptive statistics. Descriptive means it is a summarization of data is descriptive statistics. Without using hypothesis, if you are concluding the result, descriptive statistics. Whereas when we go for inferential statistics, with the help of hypothesis, if you are going to conclude the result, is called inferential statistics. Inferential means by using hypothesis and concluding the result is inferential statistics. Inferential means with the help of hypothesis, concluding the result is inferential statistics. So which means taking the small sample and drawing the conclusion of entire population is inferential statistics. So when we go for hypothesis, there are different steps involved. Before that, why we need hypothesis? What is mean by hypothesis? So let's look into some general examples. For example, what are these statements? How are they proved or disproved? The statements are: Earth is flat, continents do not move, 10,000 hours of appropriately guided practice is a magic number of greatness. Men are better drivers than women. Earth is the center of universe. According to you, which are all these statements were correct? So just think about that. Which are all these statements were correct? So we are not sure about that. So let me give another set of example. No difference in performance of the sales team across geographies and product lines. Change in gas price will have no impact on losses in automotive finance. Change in CEO will have no impact on the stock price. Real estate yields are the same in all metros. Compensation changes will not impact attrition. These are all some business examples. According to you, which are all these statements are correct? So just you can think about that. Which are all the statements are correct? Again, these are all the statements. We can't conclude that this statement is correct, this is wrong. We can't conclude. For example, change in CEO will have no impact on stock price. Some company it is true, some company it is false. For example, after resigning the Narayana Murthy from Infosys, the stock price gets decreased. After Ratan Tata from Tata Consultancy, the stock price gets decreased. So some company it is true, some company it is false. So these are all the statement. We can't say that this statement is correct, this is wrong. We can't conclude that. These are all the hypothetical statement. So without data, we can't conclude this statement is correct, this is wrong. We can't conclude that. That's why we go for hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a methodology which is mainly used to prove or disprove the statement with the help of statistical analysis. Okay, hypothesis which is mainly used to prove or disprove with the help of statistical analysis. That's why we go for hypothesis. So when we go for a hypothesis, there are totally 7 different steps involved in the hypothesis. The first step is formulate the null and alternative hypothesis. So we need to clearly define what is null and alternative hypothesis. Second, we need to select the appropriate test statistic. Then third, we need to choose the level of significance and degree of freedom. Then fourth, we need to compute the calculated value. Then compute the table value. Then compare calculated value and table value. Finally, we can draw the decision. So these are all the 7 steps involved in the hypothesis. When we go for a hypothesis, so these are all the 7 steps involved in the hypothesis. So the first step is we need to clearly define what is null and alternative hypothesis. The first step is hypothesis formulation is the first step. First and foremost step is hypothesis formulation. Okay, so first we need to clearly define what is null hypothesis and what is alternative hypothesis. So the null hypothesis is always be the negative statement, or whatever the statement we are going to prove, that is called null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is always denoted as letter H naught. Okay, the null hypothesis is always defined as letter H naught. So we can define the null hypothesis is the average number of TV set in US home is equal to 3. That is a null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is the average number of TV set in US home is equal to 3. That is mu equal to 3. So that is null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is always denoted as letter H naught. So mu equal to 3. And whenever we go for null hypothesis, always remember that in the null hypothesis, always we should have equal sign, or lesser than or equal to, or greater than or equal to sign. When we go for null hypothesis, always we should have any of these 3 sign we need to have. Whenever we go for null hypothesis, These three sign mandatorily we need to have any one of these sign. Okay, null hypothesis means the statement which we are going to prove, that is called null hypothesis. Whereas the alternative hypothesis is denoted as letter H1 or HA. The alternative hypothesis is always be the opposite of null hypothesis. The alternative hypothesis is a opposite of null hypothesis. For example, the average number of TV set in US home is not equal to 3. That is the opposite of null hypothesis. Okay, the average number of TV set in US home is not equal to 3. That is alternative hypothesis. So in the alternative hypothesis, we should not have any of these three signs, that is equal to, lesser than or equal to, greater than or equal to sign should not be there. When we go for alternative hypothesis, these three signs should not be there. Okay, this is the first step. First, we need to clearly define what is null and alternative hypothesis. We need to be very clear on that. So then only we can able to prove whether the statement is correct or not. We can able to prove further. The second step is select the appropriate test statistics. We need to select the appropriate test. So when we go for statistical test, the test is broadly classified into two types. One is two-tail test, another is one-tail test. Two-tail means if both the side, both left hand side and right hand side, when you draw the normal distribution curve, if both left hand side as well as right hand side, both left as well as right, if both the side rejection area is there, we can call it as two-tail test. When we go for one tail, any one side only rejection is there, either it is in the left hand side or it is in the right hand side, then we call it as one tail test. One tail means only one side only rejection is there. When we go for two tail, both the side rejection, we go for two tail. In that two tail, further it is divided into Z test and T test. So Z test is used when the sigma is known. Okay, which means if the standard deviation is known, we go for Z test. If the standard deviation is known, we go for Z test. If the standard deviation is unknown, that is if the sigma is unknown, we go for T test. Okay, next we can go for one tail test. One tail test means only one side only rejection is there, either it is in the left hand side or in the right hand side. Any one side the rejection area, we go for one tail test. So if you go for two tail means two side, both left hand side as well as right hand side, if the rejection area is there, we call it as two tail test. For example, in the two tail test, always remember that if the equal sign is there, we call it as two tail test. How to differentiate whether it is two tail or one tail? So two tail means equal sign should be there in the null hypothesis. In the null hypothesis, if equal sign is there, we call it as two tail test. If it is one tail test means either it is lesser than or equal to or greater than or equal to, if the sign is there, we call it as one tail test. So in this scenario, equal sign is there in the null hypothesis. If equal sign is there in the null hypothesis, then it is two-tail test. Okay, so in the two-tail test, further it is divided into two types. That is, sigma is known and sigma is unknown. Okay, if the sigma is known means we can go for Z test. Okay, for example, if the standard deviation is known, we can go for Z test. If the standard deviation is known means, that is, if the sigma is known, we go for Z test. If the sigma is unknown, we go for T test. So the T test, the Z test formula is Z equal to X bar minus mu by sigma by square root of N. So X bar means sample mean. Mu is population mean. Sigma means standard deviation. N means total number of response. So this is Z test. Z equal to X bar minus mu by sigma by square root of N. That is Z test. Okay, Z test is used when the sigma is known, which means when the population standard deviation is known, we go for Z test. If the sigma is unknown, which means that is standard deviation is unknown, we can go for T test. The formula is X bar minus mu by sample standard deviation by square root of N. That is population standard deviation. Yes. So if the sigma is unknown, we go for T test. If the sigma is unknown means we can go for T test. So this is the way we can decide whether we can go for Z test or T test. So Z test is used when the sigma is known. Z test is used when the standard deviation is known. We go for Z test. If the standard deviation is unknown, we go for T test. Okay. So based on the standard deviation, based on the given details only, we can decide whether we can go for Z test or T test, we can decide. Okay. Next, let's look into an example. So here the statements are: the average cost of a hotel room in New York is said to be $168 per night. To determine if this is true, a random sample of 25 hotels is taken and resulted in an X of $172.5 and S of $15.40. Test the appropriate hypothesis at alpha equal to 0.05. Assume the population distribution is normal. Okay, here if you look into this, what is the statement here? The average cost of hotel room in New York is said to be $168 per night. This is a statement. If this is a statement, what is a null hypothesis? H naught is mu equal to 168. Okay, the population mean. Whereas alternative hypothesis is mu is not equal to 168. If this is the case, whether it is two tail or one tail, this is two tail test because equal sign is there in the null hypothesis. If equal sign is there, we can go for two tail test. In the two tail, whether it is Z test or T test, we can go for T test because the entire New York City, the standard deviation is not given. Only sample standard deviation only given here. What is the question? The average cost of hotel room in New York is said to be $168 per night. To determine if this is true, A random sample of 25 hotel is taken and result in an X of $172.5 and S of 15.4. Okay. So here sample standard deviation is given. There is no population standard deviation. Sample is given. So we can go for t-test, two-tail t-test. So first we need to frame the hypothesis. Second, we need to select the appropriate test. So here we are selecting t-test. Okay, we are selecting two-tail t-test. Third step, we need to clearly define the level of significance and degree of freedom. So the level of significance is alpha, which is 0.05, which is given in the example. Alpha is 0.05. What is this alpha? Alpha means error rate. How much error is there in the sample? So that is defined in the alpha. For example, if alpha equal to 0.05 means 5% is a error, remaining 95% the data is accurate. If alpha is 0.10 means 10% is a error, remaining 90% the data is accurate. It depends on the quality of the sample. So based on the quality of the sample only alpha value is defined. Okay, alpha is 0.05 means 5% is a error, remaining 90%, 95% the data is accurate. And here the degree of freedom is number of column minus number of row. So number of row minus number of column, that is degree of freedom. So what is, how many rows we have? There are 25 hotels we taken. Okay, 25 minus 1. 1 is number of responses. There is only one, there is a, the rent only we are calculating. So 25 minus 1 is 24. So the degree of freedom is 24. And the level of significance is 0.05. That is a third step. The third step is level of significance, that is 0.05, and the degree of freedom is 24. 25 minus 1 is 24. That is a third step. Then the fourth step is computing the calculated value is the fourth step. Okay, computing the calculated value. What is the T formula which we discussed? X bar minus mu by S by square root of N. So what is the T value here? So T is X bar minus mu. So what is X bar here? The X bar is, that is 172. So 172 minus 168 divided by the 15.4 by square root of n. N is 25. Square root of n is 25 is 5. So 5 and 25, if you cancel, 3. Then 172 minus 168 is 4 by 3. What is the calculated value? 1.3 is the calculated value. That is the fourth step. The fourth step is, what is the fourth step? Computing the calculated value is the fourth step. So by applying the formula, we are getting 1.46 is the calculated value. Then we need to look into the table value also, we need to look into that. So that is T table. In the T table, okay, so this is two-tail test. If it is two-tail means we need to go here. and the level of significance means here 0.05, and degree of freedom is 20. 5 minus 1 is 24. So we are getting, the level of significance. The calculated t value is 2.06. 2.06 is a calculated t value. Okay, the calculated t value is 2.06. So we can define the boundary, that is minus 2.06 to plus 2.06 is a boundary. Minus 2.06 to plus 2.06 is a boundary. What is the calculated value? 1.46. 1.46 is a calculated value. So the calculated value is fall inside the boundary or outside the boundary. It is fall inside the boundary. 1.46 is fall inside the boundary. So we can accept the null hypothesis. So what is null hypothesis? The average cost of hotel room in New York is said to be $168 per night. Okay, so $168 per night, you can conclude that. So that is the way we can conclude. Whenever we go for hypothesis, first you need to clearly define what is null and alternative hypothesis. Second, select the appropriate test. Third, defining the level of significance and degree of freedom. Fourth, compute the calculated value, then compute the table value, then compare calculated and table value. Finally, you need to draw the conclusion. So these are all the steps involved when we go for hypothesis. Okay, these are all the different steps. So next thing, so far we discussed the two-tail test. Next, we can go for one-tail test. One-tail means what? Only one side only rejection is there. So when we go for two-tail means both left-hand side as well as right-hand side. If both the side rejection is there, we go for two-tail. One-tail means only one side only rejection is there. If only one side is rejection, we go for one-tail. In the one tail, we can reject in the left hand side also, we can reject in the right hand side also, we can reject that. That is one tail test. Okay, if the rejection area is in the left hand side, we call it as left tail test. Left tail means if the rejection is there in the left hand side, we call it as left tail test. And in the left tail test, the null hypothesis we have greater than or equal to sign. If in the null hypothesis, if greater than or equal to sign is there in the null hypothesis, we go for left tail test. Okay, right tail means if it is in the null hypothesis, if lesser than or equal to sign is there, we can go for right tail test. Left tail means we can say that, okay, left tail means lesser than or equal to 0. Right tail means greater than or equal to 0. Okay, right tail means lesser than, left tail means greater than, we can use. Okay, so that is a left tail and right tail test. If it is left tail means left hand side rejection, right tail means right hand side rejection area. Okay, next. So let's have one example. How we have example in the two tail. Likewise, I can give one example for one tail also. This is upper tail t-test. Upper tail t-test. So if this is the case, there is one example. A phone industry manager think that the customer monthly cell phone bills have decreased and now the average is less than $52 per month. The company wishes to test this claim. Assume a normal distribution. So if this is the case, what is the null hypothesis here? The null hypothesis is mu is lesser than or equal to 52. Okay, mu is lesser than or equal to 52. Whereas alternative hypothesis is mu is greater than 52 is the alternative hypothesis. Okay, so this is the first step. Second, we need to select the appropriate test. So this is one tail or two tail. This is one tail because the equal sign, if equal sign is there, then only we can say two tail. Otherwise, it is one tail only. Either it is lesser than or equal to or greater than or equal to sign is there, we call it as one tail only. So here it is lesser than or equal to sign is there. Lesser than or equal to means it is right tail test. One tail right tail test. Then the third step is defining the level of significance. The level of significance is 0.10, and the degree of freedom, here the level of significance is 0.10 and the degree of freedom is 24 because number of responses is 25. So 25 minus 1 is 24. Okay, then we need to look into the corresponding table value. If you look into the table value in the one tail test, the corresponding level of significance is 0.10 and degree of freedom is 24. If this is the case, the corresponding table value is 1.318. So 1.318 is a table value. So we need to define the table value is 1.318 is a table value. Okay. So above 1.318, we can reject that. We can reject the null hypothesis. So here the calculated value is 0.55. The 0.55 is fall less than this line. If it is greater than means we can accept, reject that. If it is less than means we can accept. So 0.55 is less than this table, the table value. So we can accept the H naught is accepted. So which means the average monthly cell phone have been decreased by $52 per month. Okay, so that is a one tail t-test. Likewise, we can prove. So that is the way we can decide whether we can go for two tail or one tail. We can decide that. Okay, so we can decide whether it is one tail or two tail. We can take our decision. Okay, we can take the decision. Uh, okay, we can go for one tail or two tail. Okay, so two tail means if both the side rejection area, we go for two tail. If it is only one side only rejection area, we go for one tail test. One tail means only one side only rejection area is there. If only one side, we go for one tail. Either it is in the left hand side or it is in the right hand side. If the rejection area is in the left hand side, then it is left tail test. Right hand side means right tail test. If the lesser than or equal to 0 means it is lesser than symbol is there, then it is right tail test. Greater than symbol means left tail test. Okay, that is a step 2. Now, when we go for step 3, choosing the level of significance, confidence interval, and degree of freedom. These are all the third step. What is mean by level of significance? The level of significance is denoted as letter alpha. Okay, alpha means error rate. The level of significance is denoted as letter alpha, which is nothing but error rate. For example, if alpha equal to 0.01, alpha is 0.01 means 1% is a error, remaining 99% the data is accurate. If alpha equal to 0.05 means 5% is a error, remaining 95% the data is accurate. If alpha is 0.10, then 10% is a error, remaining 90% the data is accurate. So based on the alpha value, we can define the quality of the data set we can define. Based on the alpha value, we can define the quality of data set. Then next we can define the confidence interval. So confidence interval means defining the limit. So confidence interval means defining the limit. The lower and upper limit. We can define the lower and upper limit. That is confidence interval. For example, there are two ways we can define the confidence interval. The first method is the mean energy consumption of various houses in a colony is 200 units with a standard deviation of 20 units. What does this mean? Okay, so if this is the case, what is the confidence interval? So as per the empirical rule, mu minus 1 sigma to mu plus 1 sigma. What is mu here? The mu is given that it is 200. Mu is 200. Sigma is 20. So mu minus 1 sigma. Mu minus 1 sigma means 200 minus 20 is 80. 200 plus 20 is 220. Mu minus 2 sigma, that is 160 to 240. Mu minus 3 sigma is 140. Mu plus 3 sigma is 260. Okay, so when mu minus 3 sigma to mu plus 3 sigma, the value is 99.72. We can say that 99% the energy consumption in the colony is between 140 to 260 units. Okay, 99% the energy consumption is between 140 to 260 units only. Okay, that is a formula which is derived from empirical rule. So this is the way we can define the confidence interval. We can define by using this empirical rule. By using empirical rule also, we can define the confidence interval. This is the one of the method. Next, we can also define by using formula. That is a second approach. First approach is by using empirical rule. The second approach is by using formula also we can define the confidence interval. That is, consider the mean demand for computers during assembly lead time is 350 units. Our operation managers want to know whether the mean is different from 350 units. So here the null hypothesis is 350 and the alternative hypothesis is not equal to 350. Recall that the standard deviation was assumed to be 75, that is sigma. Population standard deviation is given as 75. The sample size n was 25 and the sample mean was calculated to be 370.16. Okay, this is a given statement. If this is the case, which test we can apply? We can go for two-tail because equal sign is there in the null hypothesis. Equal sign is there in the null hypothesis. So we can go for two-tail. In the two-tail, whether it is Z-tail or T-tail, sorry, Z-test or T-test, here sigma is given. Okay, that is sigma is given, that is population standard deviation is given. So we can go for Z-test. So population standard deviation is 75. Okay, we can go for Z-test concept, Z-test. Okay, so we can go for Z-test, we can apply. So here, so when we go for Z-test, here the level of significance is 0.05, which means 95 percentage the data is accurate. Okay, 95 percentage. We need to look into the table value, we need to look into that. So in that case, when we go for this formula wise critical value, the confidence interval, this is a formula, that is upper confidence interval and lower confidence interval. Upper confidence interval means the formula is mean plus table value multiplied by standard deviation. Lower confidence means mean minus table value into standard deviation. So here mean is how much? 350. Then table value, that is sigma is 0.05 and degree of freedom is 24. So if this is the case, if you look into the corresponding FZ table, if you look into the corresponding Z table for 95 percentage, here 1.96 is the table value we are getting. 1.96 is the table value we are getting. So if that is a case, so mean plus table value into standard deviation. Okay, mean is 350 plus table value is 1.96 multiplied by standard deviation. So we are getting 379.4. That is upper confidence interval. And we have lower confidence interval is 320. So based on this, we can define the limit 320 and 379. So by using formula wise also we can define the confidence interval. Confidence interval is the limit where we can accept or reject the null hypothesis. Okay, that is confidence interval. Next thing is, okay, next thing is degree of freedom. Degree of freedom means number of responses free from the error. Okay, number of row minus number of column is a degree of freedom here. Okay, number of row means 10. So number of row is here, number of record is 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. Okay, 10 minus 1 is 9 we have. Okay, 10 minus 1 is 9. So that is degree of freedom. Degree of freedom is mainly used to compute the table value. Okay, so these are all the three different terms we use in the hypothesis. In the third step, defining the level of significance, confidence interval, and degree of freedom. The level of significance is denoted as letter alpha, which is error rate. Okay, the alpha is 0.05 means 5 percentage is a error, remaining 95 percentage the data is accurate. If it is 0.10, then 10 percentage is a error, 90 percentage is a accurate. 0.15 means 15 percentage is a error. Based on the quality of the sample, we can define the alpha value. Confidence interval means the limit which we define for accepting or rejecting the null hypothesis, and degree of freedom, how much response is free from the error. is degree of freedom. So the fourth step is compute the calculated test value. Okay, computing the calculated test value is the fourth step by using formula. Okay, let me give an example. Test the claim that the true number of TV set in US home is equal to 3. Assume sigma equal to 0.8. Okay, here mu equal to 3, that is h naught mu is equal to 3. Alternative hypothesis is mu is not equal to 3. So we framed the null and alternative hypothesis we framed. Then the second step is select the appropriate test. So there is equal sign is there, we can go for two-tail test. So equal sign is there, we can go for two-tail test. Okay. Now in the two-tail, whether we can go for Z test or T test, so we can go for Z test because sigma is given. So sigma is given means it is Z test. That is a step 2. Step 2 is selecting the test. Step 3, defining the level of significance. So the level of significance is 0.05, which means 95% the data is accurate. That is a step 2. So step 3 is defining the alpha. Step 4, computing the calculated value. The calculated value is z equal to x bar minus mu by sigma by square root of n. Okay, here x bar is 2.84 minus mu is 3 by sigma is 0.8 by square root of n is 100. So we are getting the calculated value is minus 2. Minus 2 is a calculated value. Then corresponding table value also we need to look into that. Okay, when we look into the table value, so the level of significance is 0.05, we are getting 1.96. So we computed calculated value, also table value. We need to compare calculated and table value, we need to compare that. Okay, so we are comparing calculated and table value. So the table value is 1.96 minus 1.96 to plus 1.96. Here the calculated value is minus 2. So the calculated value is fall outside the boundary. If it is fall outside the boundary, as per the hypothesis, we need to reject the null hypothesis. So we can conclude that there is sufficient evidence that the mean number of TV in US home is not equal to 3. Okay, so this is the way we can prove. When we go for hypothesis, these are all the 7 steps involved in the hypothesis. These are all the 7 steps involved in the hypothesis. First, we need to formulate null and alternative hypothesis. Second, select the appropriate test. Third, defining the level of significance, degree of freedom, confidence interval. Fourth, compute the calculated value. Then compute the table value. Then compare calculated and table value. Finally, we can draw the conclusion. These are all the 7 steps involved in the hypothesis. So this is one approach. There is another approach also there, that is called p-value approach, that is probability value approach. Okay, so in this probability value approach, we can take the decision whether we can accept or reject the null hypothesis. So if the p-value is less than 0.05, if p-value is less than 0.05, we can reject the null hypothesis. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, we can accept the null hypothesis. P-value means probability value approach. Probability value approach is the p-value approach. Okay, there are two approaches in the hypothesis. One is critical value approach, another is p-value approach. Critical value means by using formula wise we can compute, whereas p-value or probability value means by using probability wise we can accept or reject the null hypothesis. These are all the ways we can take our decision. Then whenever we go for hypothesis, there is always possibility we may get the error. So in the hypothesis, there are two types of error we may occur. One is type 1 error and type 2 error. Type 1 and type 2 error. What is mean by this? When we get this error, for example, if your null hypothesis is true, so you are rejecting your null hypothesis, then we'll get type 1 error. Type 1 error will get if your null hypothesis is true, but still we are rejecting the null hypothesis, means then type 1 error. If your null hypothesis is true, so we are accepting the null hypothesis, means it is a correct decision. Okay, then if your alternative hypothesis is true, but you are still rejecting the null hypothesis, then it is correct decision. Your alternative hypothesis is true, so you are accepting the null hypothesis, then it is type 2 error. So type 1 or type 2 error are occurs mismatching of our assumption. We may get type 1 or type 2 error. Let me give one example. The person is very much innocent. Okay, the person is very innocent. If you are keeping in the prison, that is type 1 error. The judgment is wrong. If the person is very much innocent, if you are setting as free, that is correct decision, right? The person is guilty person. If you are keeping in the prison, that is correct decision. The guilty person, if you are setting as free, that is type 2 error. Okay, type 2 error. So this type 1 or type 2 error occurs because of mismatching of our assumption. Okay, mismatching of our assumption, we may end up with the type 1 or type 2 error. Okay, next. Let me give one more example with respect to the disease. Let me give one more example. For example, the person is affected by, the person is, they don't have any disease. The person who don't have any fever. So he is not taking any treatment. That is correct decision only, right? He don't have any fever. He is not taking any treatment. That is correct decision. The person who don't have any fever, okay, but he assumed that it is a COVID fever, corona fever. He assumed. So he is taking all the diagnosis treatment. His assumption is wrong. Actually, he don't have any, he is having normal fever only, but he assumed it is the COVID. He is taking all the diagnosis treatment. That is type 1 error. Okay. Then the person who really having COVID, the person who is having fever, that is a COVID only positive, but he assumed it is a normal fever. So he is not taking any treatment. That is type 2 error. Okay. The person who really having COVID, he is taking diagnosis treatment. That is correct decision. So type 1 or type 2 error occurs because of mismatching of our assumption. How to control the type 1 or type 2 error? We can increase the alpha value. If you increase your alpha value, we can control the type 1 or type 2 error can be controlled. Okay, so this is all about the hypothesis. Okay, so hypothesis is nothing but it is a methodology which is mainly used to prove or disprove the statement with the help of statistical analysis. There are two approach. One is critical value approach, another is p-value, that is probability value approach. Whenever we go for hypothesis, there is possibility we may get type 1 or type 2 error. Okay, if you avoid the type 1 or type 2 error, we can increase the alpha value. That is level of significant error rate we can increase. Through that we can control. So this is all about hypothesis. In the forthcoming session, we can use the hypothesis and we can prove our statement and our result. So thank you. That is all over this session. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you.